Alright, we're heading to the beach. There's Linda, heading to the beach. Say hello.
I don't want you to take my picture.
Well,
I know my hair's got to be windblown.
Mine is too. Say hello.
Hello.
Oh boy, look at the beautiful Atlantic Ocean. Holy moly. People out there fishing. Why not? It's the ocean. And some of them aren't fishing.
Did you get the seagull?
Where? Oh, right there? Yeah.
How nice would it be just to come out and sit like this every day?
Yeah.
I see the tip of the sailboat way out there.
I think he's just going to let it. It may be hung up on something, but he may be just.
Got away.
He gave it a little line, like he's just going to see it's pulling again. He's got something on her, I think. He's rubbing his hands together like, oh, please be on there, please be on there. What are some big breakers coming in?
I wonder how far out they go kayak.
Pull hard, buddy.
Do you look at those waves? They'll start out little tiny thing, and they go longer and longer.
Some kind of little varmint burrow here.
Little bitty tracks.
And then you look over here, And you see another one with tracks and stuff all over it.
How many legs would he have?
4 probably. How many varmints you seen with extra legs other than 4? And I think it's too big to be a kangaroo.
Sailboat. There's one closer too. That is one cute house. We need to go around that.
The people in the hotel give all kinds of insurance.
Yeah. It's really some good food. No, nowhere near it.
Same size Daytona now.
I guess we better get down the road, huh?
Yeah. We run out of time tonight.
What?
Yeah. Some thick stuff in there, boy.
I know that you.
Somebody left a kiss.
Huh?
Somebody left us a kiss.
I know. I wouldn't either.
Neither would I.
What are you making there?
An eagle nest. Yeah, this isn't real.
Entrance fee. Yeah. Oh my God, we're gonna have a whole. What the fuck?
have one do that to me too. Hey, give me put one in my hand. Watch it.
God, they're coming from way out there.
Ouch! Got my finger on that one. Crazy little devil.
Here, honey. I'm going to start in on the other things now.
Hey, now wait a minute. You guys gotta slow down and say, ouch, boy, that guy just dive bombed me. Here we go. Catch him. Good catch. Put one on top of your head. Photobomb. Brussels ferry.
We should have taken a boat somewhere and gone out. I'd like to go deep sea fishing, but I'd probably burn to death.
here in the very center of the park, that big monument there with the statue on top facing north, that is the Confederate Memorial. It was commissioned by the wives and daughters of Confederate veterans back in 1875. Now, one of their wishes about the statue and the monument were that they not touch northern soil before they arrived here in Savannah. So they were actually made up in Canada using Canadian sandstone. They were brought down here to Savannah by ship to be installed right there in the very center of Forsyth Park. Over the past couple of minutes, we've mentioned a few times about statues facing off toward their enemy. That was a very, very popular concept back in the 19th century. And we're going to be seeing another good example of it as we make our way around the south end of Forsyth Park. And as you can see here, he sort of looks like he's out for a stroll. He commemorates the Georgia veterans of the Spanish-American War who fought down in Cuba. Now, one of the wealthiest of the families that lived here back in the early part of the 19th century was the Telfairs. This building down here on the corner to our right there, that was commissioned by Mary Telfair, donated to the city and designated as a hospital for women. It's going to bring us up here to our stop number 4. Now, if you do need to exit here, folks, please do be. One of its main features is a fountain on in front of it over to our right there, with the big winged terracotta lion right there in the middle, known in mythology as a griffin, part lion and part eagle. Now, to our right here, folks, you can see the shed-like structure there with 2 big cannons underneath. These are George and Martha, the Washington guns. They were donated by President George Washington to the Chatham Artillery when he visited with us here in Savannah back in 1791 during his southern tour. Most of those cannons were captured from the British at the Battle of Yorktown during the Revolutionary War. Now, our next stop, folks, is going to be stop number 13, Ellis
here. And I'd like to personally invite you aboard the only tour in Savannah, Georgia. My name is Paul Beans, Old Town Farm. I'll be telling you my story. And they're even going to have some great Savannah stories, too. And I hope before the day is over, y'all can come visit me at the Lady and Sons and put a little south in your mouth. Hope to see y'all there. I always send you love and best dishes.
They needed the old city market. So they tore down all that structure and they put up a 4-story parking garage right over where the old square used to be. The oldest and one of the newest squares here in Savannah. This next and last square, folks, up in front of us here on the left, that is Franklin Square. Now, this is named after one of our founding fathers, of course, Benjamin Franklin. Now, as we enter into the square, if you look across from us here on the corner to the left, you see a big building here with 2 big red doors. That's the First African Baptist Church, the oldest African-American congregation here in the United States. That church was, the congregation was started by slaves from the Brampton Plantation back in 1773. Now, the building itself was not completed and dedicated until 1859. One feature of the church, if you go inside and take their tour, is a diamond-shaped pattern that's cut into the floorboard, which leads to a compartment up underneath. Now, that leads a lot of folks to believe that that church was part of the old Underground Railroad, designed, of course, to help slaves who were trying to escape to the north and to freedom. And that, of course, also brings up the third of the 4 prohibitions that were imposed by General Oglethorpe. And that was no slavery. Even though it was being practiced in many of the other colonies, he felt that it wasn't needed here in Savannah. And even though many of the early settlers disagreed with him pretty strongly on that, he held out on the issue until 1751. Now, by then, the original charter on the colony had run out. General Oglethorpe had already left and gone back to England, and we became a slave colony at that time. Next next corner, folks, you're going to be coming up to stop number 14. This will be the Ships of the Sea Museum. It showcases a maritime history of the colony. It also has one of the most beautiful gardens that remains here in the city. It was originally known as the Scarborough House. It's another one of the homes that was designed by William James back in the early part of the 19th century. This is our stop number 14, folks, the Ships of the Sea Museum. We're going to be going by the Chatham County Courthouse. Now the courthouse sits right over what used to be known as Liberty Square. That's one of the two squares that we've lost here in Savannah over the years, down from the original 24. Now passing the old courthouse also brings up the fourth and last of those 4 prohibitions imposed by General Oglethorpe. You recall the first prohibition was no Catholics. The second was no strong drink or hard liquor. The third one we mentioned a few minutes ago, no slavery. And the fourth and last prohibition was no lawyers. Lawyers could live here in the colony, but under penalty of a fine, they were not allowed to practice their profession. General Oglethorpe believed that any of the early settlers ought to be able to argue their own case in any dispute. So lawyers were prohibited.
I love it.
Now if you look to the right here as we pass by this construction site, you should be able to get a pretty good view here of what many in Savannah refer to as the new Eugene Talmadge Memorial Bridge. That bridge was built back in the early 1990s, and it replaced the old bridge, also called the Talmadge, which had been there since back in the 1950s. Now the old bridge had been struck several times by some of the large container ships that were trying to enter the harbor here in Savannah. So it pretty much came down to a question of either raise the bridge or lower the river. So the new bridge was actually built quite a bit higher than the old one. It stands there about 185 feet, right above the Savannah River. Now the bridge is named after Eugene Talmadge. He was governor of Georgia back in the 1930s and early 1940s. He also had a son named Herman Talmadge, who also served as governor and a U.S. senator from Georgia. He was actually on the Senate Watergate Committee back in the 1970s. Now all of you folks are finishing up right back where we started, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.